Greetings and salutations, knowledge seekers, and welcome to this video. Today, I want to talk to you about stress, a very common concern that a lot of us have. It's a problem that most of us struggle with on a day-to-day basis. So let's discuss what stress is, what are some of the most common causes of it, and how we can deal with it in one simple way. Let's get into it. Imagine you wake up in the morning and you realize that your alarm didn't go off. Oh my god, disaster, right? You gotta go to work. You have all these important things there that you had to deliver on. So immediately you start rushing through your morning routine. You have a quick breakfast, you brush your teeth, you do all these things, you take a shower. And then you get in the car and you realize that it's not starting. Oh, not a disaster, right? But again, you have a very important presentation today, so you run to the bus stop. You run all the way there, and just when you're nearing the bus stop, you see the bus driving off. Oh, not a disaster, right? The day cannot get any worse. Your stress levels are through the roof. So what exactly is happening in your body? Well, your body, your adrenal glands produce cortisol, which is a hormone that's associated with stress. We don't need to get into the details of it, but usually when your cortisol levels increase, your heart rate also increases, your blood pressure goes up, you get a little bit flushed in the cheeks, your blood rushes to your skin. So these are the most common symptoms of a stressed person. One thing we need to realize about cortisol, the hormone that does all this to us, among other things, is that we have a certain base level of it. So there's always some level of cortisol in our blood. Having cortisol in our system is not necessarily bad. The same way as having a certain level of stress is not necessarily bad. It means that we are aroused, right? In the wild, our predecessors were stressed all the time. They were a lot more alert than we are, and they had to be because they needed to be alert in order to survive, right? So stress is not necessarily a bad thing. Excessive stress, unfortunately, is. And too high levels of cortisol over a prolonged period of time are problematic for your long-term health as well. But one thing the body is good at is regulate all the different types of hormones that we have in our system, and cortisol is not an exception. So what goes up must come down. Cortisol levels are a little bit like a seesaw. They go up, they go down. So if you feel overly stressed over a certain period of time, you can calm yourself and reduce the levels of cortisol in your system. How can you do that? Unfortunately, the body reacts to what the mind tells it to do in this particular context, right? In a lot of other contexts, that's fortunate, but when it comes to stress, we are very easily stressed. Unfortunately, some of us more than others. Some people have a higher stress tolerance than others. But generally, as human beings, we are prone to stress. It's part, again, of our evolutionary mechanism for survival. So it's understandable from that perspective that we should react to cortisol the way we do, right? Unfortunately, nowadays, our problems are not related to survival. There are more mental issues that, unfortunately, we react to the same way as if those were actual threats to our life. And it's important to realize that they're not, but when you're in a stressful situation, it's difficult to distinguish between your mental perception and the reality around you, right? And there are many different factors that trigger the stress response. Again, being late for work is one of them. Being late to an appointment, having a lot of work while you are at your job and you have a lot of work assignments, that's also pretty stressful. Tight deadlines, having to communicate with a lot of people for introverts is very stressful. For extroverts, the other way around, right? If you are alone, if you spend too much time with your thoughts, you want to be surrounded by other individuals. So what triggers us and what induces the stress related response is individual for each and every one of us. But there's one thing that I feel we all have in common when it comes to stress. There is some underlying psychological issue that bothers us, which then means that we're more prone to react to certain situations in a more impulsive, in a more emotional way, which can then result in stress, right? If you're happy with who you are, if you're happy when you wake up and you go to work, even if you are a little bit late, you can kind of laugh it off, you can deal with it, you can say, the stupid car didn't start, I'm sorry I'm late, I missed my bus. Unless your boss is an animal, they're gonna understand, right? Things like that happen to all of us. But if you already start your day on the wrong foot, again, maybe you woke up too late, and then things just keep piling on, then that kind of triggers you even more, right? And then we have certain underlying problems that are much more meaningful and material to our life and to our existence. And I think one of them that's very common for most of us is lack of meaning, right? I think we all struggle with this to various degrees. Maybe we're a little bit unsatisfied with how things are going at work. Maybe we're unhappy with a personal relationship with a significant other. Maybe we have some family issues with our immediate family members, brother, sister, mother, father. These are all things that fester in us and make us a lot more prone to this kind of negative responses. And particularly when it comes to lack of meaning, particularly when it comes to this feeling of emptiness that all of us sometimes experience, I think it's very important to remember that life sometimes does not have to respond to our immediate needs and provide us with meaning. Maybe we have to find the meaning ourselves. And sometimes it's actually okay to not even have meaning whatsoever. A very interesting thought that I encountered the other day, exhibited by a story of an old man that walks in the countryside with his apprentice. Takes place in the Middle Ages, and he sees this old oak tree by a shrine. So the tree is keeping shade over the shrine. And then the old man starts explaining to his apprentice how this oak tree is actually completely useless, right? You can't use it. It doesn't give any fruit. You can't use the timber because it's not good enough to build anything with it. So the only thing you can do is sit here and throw shade over the shrine. So what happens is, the same night, the old man has this dream, and the oak tree actually comes to the man and starts explaining to him and asking him, who the hell are you to question my existence and to say that I'm worthless? If I did have a purpose, I would have died long ago. If I was to bear fruit and I became too old and wasn't able to do that anymore, somebody would have chopped me down and they would have planted another tree to give them fruit. If they could use my timber for something productive, like building a boat or a house, they would have done the same thing, right? But because I'm useless, I'm still alive, and I'm still sitting here throwing my shade over the shrine. So don't judge me. And I think that's a lesson that offers a lot of learning for many of us, right? Myself included. Sometimes we are really constantly striving to find the meaning in things, and maybe we're just not meant to do that. So we should perhaps learn to let go a little bit. And if we do that with the big things, then we can definitely do it if we're late for work as well, right? And then hopefully that alleviates our stress a little bit. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I hope you like my content. If you do, please like and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.